As she said, my name is Emily Cottle, and I'm here today to tell you about our Preservica journey at Vanguard. So, what I'm hoping to cover today is sort of three main things. So, to start with a little introduction of myself to Vanguard and to our archives team, and then spend the bulk of our time talking about our Preservica journey, focusing a little bit on our implementation, and then focusing on how we've been able to use Preservica to increase access to our digital assets. And then lastly, we're going to wrap up with a few of the tips that we've learned along the way. So to dive right in, Vanguard was founded on May 1st in 1975. It's one of the world's largest investment management companies. It is headquartered in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, and it has 19 offices around the globe and over 17,000 employees. The archives are known internally as the Vanguard History Center, as you can see here, and we were established in 2014. It is staffed by two archivists, so myself and one other person, and it's our job to provide reference services to those 17,000 employees around the world, as well as to build and steward collections that help tell Vanguard's story. And that includes photographs, videos, documents, artifacts, as well as, of course, digital assets. That digital collection currently contains about 25,000 individual assets and is continually growing, as you can imagine. So where we were before we implemented Preservica at Vanguard is that all of our digital assets were stored on a shared drive. We created a folder structure that mirrored what we were doing with our record groups and our paper records, and just did the best that we could with what we had. As you notice, there are a lot of problems with that. So you can see we had some files starting to degrade. You'd open a PDF, and where there was supposed to be content, there was a white space. We were losing pixels and images. So we had a real problem with the safety and security of the information we were trying to preserve. And the second biggest issue was retrieval. When we were putting these things on the shared drive, we had no good way to attach metadata. So as you can imagine, when that collection grows and grows and grows, it gets a lot harder to find the one file you're looking for in those 25,000. So that enters Preservica. So in July of last year, we obtained Preservica Enterprise Private Cloud, and over the last year have been working to migrate our content from that shared drive into Preservica. We've been creating our Dublin Core metadata for each and every asset as it goes into the system. And as you can see, we're a lot happier now. We're able to ensure the safety of our digital content over time, so we can run reports like the one shown on this slide here. We can check for problems before they become problems. We can do file format migrations and all of those important digital preservation tasks. And then in the lower right is an example of that retrieval problem that we were trying to solve. So before, if I wanted to find this particular photo with these three people in it, I would have to go to the shared drive, to the photo folder, and scroll through 5,000 or 6,000 photos until I found the one I want. Whereas now I can just put in my search terms and use all that metadata we've worked so hard to create. So in addition to these sort of administrative or behind the scenes functions in Preservica, another aspect of it is what they call the Universal Access Catalog. Ours is pictured here. As you can see, we've branded it the Vanguard Digital Archive internally, so you can customize, the look and feel and how you call it and all of that. And what this is essentially is a portal where you can select particular items from your Preservica catalog and publish them to your public. So the public can be the actual public out in the world, or in our case, our public is just the employees of Vanguard. So anyone at any of our offices around the world has access to this resource. We launched this late last year. It took us a couple of months to get enough content into Preservica that we really felt like we had something to push out in this catalog, but we've been using it since the end of last year. And one of the things that we're trying to do is experiment with different ways for our users to find content. So as you can see on the slide, there's sort of that Google style search box at the top, which is a great starting point for a lot of people, but we've heard that that can lead to sort of an overwhelming amount of results. And so we wanted to try and curate different ways for people to get to our resources. One of the ways we've done that is what we call our quick start guides. So we've created a page that sort of identifies, I want to X, Y, or Z. So this example, I want to learn about Vanguard history. It will take you to this page. It highlights specific documents within the collection that are likely to help you sort of learn about that particular topic. And it kind of pulls it all together in one place for you. So this is one example of how we're sort of serving up our content to our users in a way that we hope makes it easy for them to get right to the thing that they're looking for. Another thing that's really neat about Preservica and the Universal Access portal is we can create what they call virtual collections. So in this example, Vanguard was celebrating the 20th anniversary of one of our products, our ETFs, earlier this year. we could find items in the collection from across record groups all over the place and pull them together in this virtual collection. You're not making extra copies of things, you're not moving things to and fro, but just intellectually collecting it all and serving it up to your users in a really easy to access way. So that's been something that we've done so far with this one example and hope to continue to do more of. The other interesting thing on this page called the highlights from the archives, you can select particular folders that you think will be of interest to your users and serve those up in kind of an easy to get to way. So we're sort of rotating through what's on here and seeing what we hear from our users is the most important things that they want to be able to get to quickly. One thing I wanted to highlight is how easy it is in Preservica to customize what your users see versus kind of what your archivists see on the back end. So the folders pictured at the top and then at the bottom of the slide are the same folders, but the archivists on the back end see that sort of VDA prefix, which is how we identify our Vanguard digital archive content. We don't really want our users to see that. They don't need to know that, but we can customize that they see, advertising evolution or browse by region or things like that. So we've had a lot of success in being able to provide customization for our users as well. One of the things we've been doing is gathering a lot of feedback as we go so we can try and continue to improve. So the next couple slides just share some quotes from some of our users. So this story, a person from executive comms was trying to figure out if a particular executive was, at an event. They were able to go to VDA and do that search. As they say here, that I didn't have to reach out and bug anyone with my question. And of course, we're always happy to help people. We are two people, so there is sort of a limit to the amount of service that we can provide. The other thing that this helps remediate for us is that we're a global company. So if somebody in Australia needs something in the middle of the night that can't wait till the next business day, they can go to this resource and self-provision the things that they might need. Another thing that we've been able to add to VDA is sort of our ready reference documents. So alongside some of our archival content, we've been able to add the resources that we create for our employees. Before, these would have been sort of on a separate SharePoint site, but now they're centralized alongside the primary source documents and much easier to find. As you can see from this quote from a user, this is awesome. Thank you for building such an awesome site. So we take that as a win anytime we can get the double awesome. This example is some feedback from one of our employees in Australia. And what I really like to highlight about this one is that, they found it accessible, it was phenomenal, site simple to use. We like to hear that positive feedback, but what I really appreciated is they provided us a suggestion for another way that would be useful for them to access our content. So because of this feedback, we could add a new virtual collection, browse by region. It wasn't something that we had necessarily thought of, but when we heard from our users, it was something that would help. It was very simple to create and add to our Preservica catalog. Another example of what I call sort of the softer side of our digital asset collection, but just helping people feel that kind of warm, fuzzy connection to our company. So this is a person with almost 4 decades of tenure at Vanguard. They may not be looking for something in particular, but they can go to VDA and just sort of reminisce and feel that connection and that kind of boosted morale that you get from looking, as they said, a walk down memory lane. And lastly, and kind of in summary, and my favorite feedback all rolled into one, what's not to like, and from a user in our legal division, no less. So in closing, I wanted to share sort of our top tips that we've come up with at Vanguard for how to be successful in this space. The first is to really think like a user. To go back to that example from a moment ago with our Australia employee, as an archivist, I might know, well, I can just filter my Dublin core metadata fields and pull together all of the Australia stuff, but that doesn't occur to someone who's not doing this stuff day in and day out. They really needed an easy button. They needed to click and just be able to get to exactly what they needed. So be sure to, when you're setting these types of things up, sort of take off the archivist hat and put on the information seeker hat for a minute and see what you can do to make it easy. Second, to experiment. Like I said, we're trying lots of different access points. We have our quick start guides, we have our highlighted collections. We're going to keep trying lots of different things to figure out what's the most successful for us. And that sort of leads right into number 3, which is to ask for feedback. You don't know what people are going to find most valuable until you ask them. So get as much feedback as you can from your users. And then really importantly, act upon the feedback where it's reasonable, sort of like our adding that folder for browse by region, or even if it's not feasible, follow up with the people who took the time to provide that feedback for you. It makes them feel appreciated and heard, and then it's just going to hopefully get you more good feedback in the future if you take the time to do that follow up. And lastly, I think we can always use the reminder, share your wins, brag a little bit about what's going really well with your digital preservation, your access, any of it. It applies to all the aspects of archival work. But let your leadership know what's going really well, keep them in the loop about your wins, send that, what's not to like to everybody, everybody that you know that you think might be interested in your organization, because then you help maintain that network of support and advocacy in the future.